All right, greetings everyone. My name is Tim Gladhill. I am the Deputy City Administrator and Community Development Director for the City of Ramsey. With me today, I have Chloe McGuire, our Senior Planner, and Sean Sullivan, our Economic Development Manager. What we're going to do today is do a little bit more interactive update for development occurring around town. We know that a lot of our staff and commissions and council and public really like to get updates on what is happening in their backyard. So today is a little bit of a chance for a brief update, super high level with the ability to tell you where to get more information on our website or through our staff. So without further ado, we'll jump right in and give you a high level update. And then I will turn things over to the two of these staff members to do a deeper dive into several of our projects. So starting off 2020, we had expected in March that perhaps with a major pandemic, stay-at-home orders, that construction activity might even come to a screeching halt. We had no idea what the future was going to hold, and we kind of paused just to monitor to see how things were going. And maybe the first 2 to 3 weeks of the pandemic had slowed down a little bit as everyone adjusted to working from home. But then something crazy happened. Things got incredibly busy. At least in our residential sector, our activity levels were much higher than average. Part of that was due to home improvement projects because people were home. Some people were converting extra bedrooms into offices, and a lot of people were looking for brand new homes. I thought it was a great time with the interest rates that are going on that now might be the time to check out one of our great new neighborhoods. So it was anything but slow for our team, at least in terms of the residential development. On a typical year, we can range from 75 to 100, maybe 150 new single family homes. We had nearly 200 that were built this year. So that is definitely above average for our single family market. Our industrial market and retail might have slowed down a little bit when it comes down to that. Certainly the retail, that is a sector that has been very much negatively impacted by the pandemic. But the industrial, although we didn't see as much new construction activity this year, we did definitely see some pipeline projects. And we can circle back. I'll have Sean go through maybe some of the previous projects that were done earlier on, ranging from Delta Mod Tech to Ace Solid Waste to M&G Trailer. So we had activity leading up to 2020 that finished in 2020, but perhaps maybe not a whole lot of new projects on that this year. So what I want to do is kind of alternate between some of our residential projects and commercial industrial and have each of these staff members talk a little bit about the projects that they are undertaking. So I'm going to kick things off with Chloe, talk about a larger area that actually has multiple projects. If you've been around the Alpine Drive intersection of Puma Street, you've seen a lot of activity. There are actually 3 different neighborhoods. So Chloe, why don't you tell us about the big one, Riverstone North? What is that, and kind of what's going on with that project here today?
Yes. So the Riverstone North project was one of the first projects in this area that as a whole has about 450 units. So the Riverstone North neighborhood was developed by Capstone and it is nearly completed. We're expecting the final phase to be constructed this year in 2021. Riverstone North as a whole will have 267 units west of Puma Street and south of Alpine Drive. And part of this project included the realignment of Puma Street that you can see in the northeast corner of that site map with Puma Street on the north for safety reasons. So we are very excited to see this project finished out. It has a great park and some other public amenities. And again, was about almost 300 units. So a big project that we're seeing finishing up this year.
Yeah, so you said third and final phase. Has this been going on for a number of years? Is this, building rapidly fast? Tell me a little bit about how long it took from start to finish to construct this rather large project.
Yes, this project predates my time in the city. I've been here for 3 years. So it's been going on for quite some time. And this will be the 5th edition of this project. So it has been slow and steady building out, but they're seeing really a lot of demand for those houses and completing it faster than they would have anticipated because so many residents want to live there.
Yeah. And one thing I'll just note, and you can elaborate if you want, but I think what has made this project successful is a variety of housing types, variety of lot sizes, variety of different types of houses within there, some good park amenities. And Pearson Park was planted in the middle of that very strategically, kind of paying homage to the Pearson family that previously owned that. And we'll get into a separate project here in a second. I want to talk about maybe two of the other projects that are going on right now. I'm going to start with Preserve at North Fork. So tell us a little bit about this project.
Sure. So the preserve at North Fork is actually just west of Capstone's Riverstone project. You can see butting up to it on the eastern boundary there. So this project was proposed last year by BK Land Development and is currently under construction. So this is a really unique project because it abuts the golf course, as well as some larger homes on the north and Riverstone smaller homes on the east. So it actually has a split zoning. So half of the lots on the western side are 80-foot more traditional lots, while we have smaller lots on the eastern side. So it really provides an opportunity for all types of home buyers. And they have some nice public trails throughout there that will actually connect down to the golf course, which we're really excited about. So it's almost 100 units, 96 units, and about half of those will start construction this year. They've already started clearing and getting the site ready last year and are still working on that right now. So you might be driving by and seeing some movement there, and that is what this is for.
Yep, and we were able to issue some building permits by the end of the year, really race that clock to the final days of frost, but you're actually seeing some homes come out of the ground, so that's really exciting to see. A project that is very similar is North Fork Meadows. That name might change as we progress through here. So tell us a little bit about this project, new developer with a lot of public interest.
Yes, so this project has been in the works for quite some time, about 3 years or so that we've been working with the property owner out there. And we've done quite a bit of work with the adjacent neighbors as well. So Lennar, who is a home builder and developer here in the Twin Cities, recently proposed the layout that's in front of you today with 80-foot wide lots. So our pretty standard single family residential lots on city utilities. On the eastern and southern boundaries of the site, with smaller 65-foot lots in that light green area. So this is a site that previously was guided for some larger lots, and we came to a compromise agreement with the property owner and the neighbors to allow some of those smaller lots abutting the Riverstone development, again, just to the west of this site. So it's proposed right now at about 88 lots. We're still in the stages of approval, so nothing is guaranteed for approval as of right now. And if anybody has any feedback on that, you can certainly email me in comments or call with any questions. But this is still working its way through our standard city processes right now.
Okay. So still in review, do we have any idea of when they might start the project, actually start construction?
Good question. So they are looking to start construction hopefully this spring with some clearing and grading of the site with homes in the summer and fall of this year, 2021.
Perfect. Awesome. So a lot of activity. I would say it's safe to say that a majority of our residential development is occurring in this small area and really starting to fan out from there. So most of those 200 homes are really centralized in this smaller area. We do see a lot of residential growth, and that's kind of been the predominant development pattern here in Ramsey over the years. But that doesn't mean that we don't see a lot of commercial industrial growth too. One of the major projects that was finished up this year is Delta Mod Tech. So Sean Sullivan is our economic development manager, actually his second stint here at the city of Ramsey. This is a project that started a couple of years ago in concept when he first started again. Project that maybe was a little on again, off again, and we were happy to get it over the finish line. So Sean, kudos to you on this project here, but tell us a little bit about what the Delta Mod project is.
Thanks, Tim. I guess, to put the project simply, it was a expansion of an Anoka County business. They were previously located in Coon Rapids and essentially just outgrew their location. It's 229,000 square foot of building. So when you're coming into Bunker Lake Industrial Park, you'll see it at the back corner. It's a great building. And again, they did a wonderful job. I do want to back up a little bit maybe and kind of summarize a little bit more of the magnitude of industrial development that we have had over the past year. So including this project, we had 297,900 square feet of industrial buildings that were actually completed in 2020. So you saw blip 3, which we like to call the developments from PSD. They finished their 60,800 square foot building as well. And Ace Solid Waste, another local company, added a 8,100 square foot transfer station. So from an industrial standpoint, during this pandemic, I think we did very well. And Tim alluded to a number of these other projects, but again, it was good to see kind of that balance and growth with kind of the commercial and the industrial properties. And Tim mentioned M&G Trailer. That's a 20,000 square foot project right on Highway 10, a great story of an existing Ramsey business that's expanding and staying within the community. We also have West Armstrong Retail, which is another investment into the community by PSD. That's a 15,000 square foot building, and they're starting to garner some interest now that we seem to be coming nearer to the end of this pandemic. So things are looking really promising in 2021. I've been approached by multiple developers interested in developing these industrial sites within Ramsey, and there's significant interest in the 43 acres east of the Delta Mod Tech project.
So Sean, I've heard you state in the past that an indirect benefit of industrial growth is helping to secure our retail growth. Oftentimes we hear that we need more customers and that equates into residential growth, but what is the benefit of industrial growth to our retail goals?
Thanks, Tim. That's a great item to really point out. And as we understand, from a commercial development standpoint, you hear that the old adage that rooftops bring restaurants, and there is some truth to that. But the reality is that your daytime populations in your businesses really help those restaurants during the lunch hour and even at the end of the day. So with the Delta Mod Tech project, they brought 160 jobs to Ramsey, located just west of the core. And that's only going to help our numbers for investments for restaurants into the community. So great to mention that, Tim. And I think that it is kind of a two-pronged approach. And I know we've talked a little bit about the investment that we've had within the core in some multifamily housing, increasing densities. But again, that complemented with the residential options that are happening west of town are really setting up, I think, a really good opportunity for Ramsey to emerge from this pandemic very strong.
Perfect. So lots of exciting things, and we'll get into some other projects too in the commercial industrial front too. So trying to provide a little bit of variety for all of you here, talking about residential and commercial interspersed. One project that we should all be keeping a close eye on is Riverstone South. So Chloe mentioned Riverstone North by Capstone Homes. That project that was so successful that they are looking to essentially replicate that on the south side of Highway 10. This version would be about 243 units just east of the Bowers Drive neighborhood. I think one thing that the Planning Commission and City Council are really proud of is the amount of public engagement that went into this, even in the midst of a pandemic. So this project was really coming to critical decision points as we were going into stay-at-home orders. So we quickly learned GoToWebinar, Zoom webinar, just about any version of online meeting software we could get our hands on to see worked out well. It was actually pretty helpful for the community to be involved in that process. So we were able to get a little bit more creative, sharpen our pencils, same number of lots that would have been proposed under underlying zoning. But as you can see on the screen here, we got creative with the variety of lot sizes and housing types, and actually clustered through conservation subdivision, shifted that same number of lots into a smaller area. And there's 7 acres of density transition, about 150 feet deep on top of a previous 50-foot corridor we had. And that was really critical to the Bowers Drive neighborhood, which is more rural in character along the Mississippi River. So there was a lot of compromise here. We have a long ways to go, but throughout the months, first quarter of 2021, we will be giving some significant approvals to this project. It does involve the extension of Riverdale Drive from Armstrong Boulevard over to the Bowers Drive neighborhood. And that'll take some time to unfold. So you might start to see some initial construction on behalf of the city with that extension this year. In all likelihood, this project itself won't start construction until 2022. It's that big of a project with that much infrastructure needs that it's just going to take some time to get through. So to the residents and the neighbors that participated in public engagement, thank you. We took a very methodical approach, and it took us a year to get through planning and concept designs to get to the point where we had a product that the community and the council and the planning commission could support. So the developer was willing to go through that extended process with us, and I think it turned out to be a much better product in the end. So in February timeframe, February, March, the council will be giving probably the most significant approval to this project. And so keep an eye out for those meetings. And then from there on out, it's starting to approve construction drawings and cost share for Riverdale Drive and things of that nature. So another large project with a mix of housing types really coming to the same area. And so we can learn more on our website or on the agendas coming forward. So again, really excited to see this project come forward in the context of the public was really in the driver's seat for a long time, bringing this to where it is today. There's a lot more minor details that we can get into if you're willing to do so. So again, don't be shy to give Chloe or I or Sean a call to learn more about this project. I'm going to kick things back over to Chloe here. Many of you might have been hearing about a lot of review activity that was occurring north of Tropbrook near the new Brookside Elementary School, a couple large projects. The area from a planning perspective, we refer to as the Tropbrook North area. Within there, there's a couple different projects. So why don't you, Chloe, talk to us about the smaller of the two projects, which is the Hunt Edition.
Yes. So the project up on the screen, which we're calling the Hunt Edition, is a proposal from Platinum Land LLC to subdivide the subject property into quarter-acre lots. So we did have a proposal in 2020 for smaller lots on this property, 55 and 65 foot wide lots, but based on the neighborhood feedback, the city council recommended that the developer stick with the 80 foot wide lots, which 80 foot wide lots are our standard single family residential lots on city utilities. So these right now are proposed 80 foot wide lots. And right now we're just in the sketch plan phase. So we're pretty high level still on this property. So still a lot of time for public comment if anybody's interested in commenting. So no guarantee of approval for this project. It will still have to come forward through a preliminary plat and a final plat. So a couple more public meetings still. They are looking forward towards the end of 2021 to break ground on this project. That's their proposed timeline right now. And again, sticking with the current zoning, so no changes to the zoning out there right now. But this is about a 40-acre piece of land, which Tim alluded to, is adjacent to a much larger piece of land, over 100 acres of land just north of Tropbrook. That is also likely to develop in future years.
And I think so for those that are viewing that might be wanting to know what project that is, what would we refer to that larger project? The Excelsior Group was the developer, correct?
Yes.
And then the property owner is what family?
So the property owner out there is the Mikowski family. We are calling that the Tropbrook North project, which is what you can look up on our city website for more information. And this project in front of you is called the Hunt Property Project because it was previously owned by the Hunt family. So the Mikowski family owns the bigger piece of land and the Hunt family owned this piece of land.
Perfect. And I will note that the Hunt family does own a broader piece of property on the other side of Nowthen. So this is simply the 40-acre piece on the west side of Nowthen Boulevard, and not some of the larger pieces of land that are owned on the east side of 5. So just for context for those that might be interested. So obviously continued residential growth. And so I think this really illustrates that as we look at densities and more creative subdivision designs, you find a lot of more of that along the Highway 10 corridor, closer to the core. Very intentionally, our land use planning starts to decrease densities as we get away from Highway 10. So that resonated very strongly through our review with the Planning Commission and City Council. And so that's why you don't see the same development pattern that we see with the two capstone projects on the south side of the community. But with the residential growth does bring interest. And one of our favorite projects to highlight are those homegrown projects. So business retention and expansion, one of our primary economic development goals. So we have an exciting project to talk about, that a local business that started out small and is looking to grow. So Sean, why don't you tell us a little bit about GG Salon?
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, Gigi's Salon is it's a great story. They're currently located at North Star Marketplace, which is just next to Coburn's in Acapulco. As Tim said, it's a growing business, and frankly, they're bursting at the seams. So we worked with them on locating a site within the city. This is a city-owned parcel they're looking at, and they currently have it under contract. So based on timing and site plans and such, they're looking at a preliminary review of their concept at the January Planning Commission, and then a full site submittal for the February Planning Commission, with an expectation to break ground in May of 2021. When it's all said and done, it'll be just over 6,000 square feet. It'll be an Aveda spa experience, and it'll be located at the southeast corner of Sunwood Drive and Zeolite Street.
Yeah, so again, and I'll just kind of share a lot of things that I hear Sean and economic development talk about. One of our primary goals, and I know I've said this already, but it's worth reinforcing, is that business retention and expansion is one of our primary, most effective goals that we can do. If you can plant a local business and allow them to grow, I think this is a great example of how that worked out quite well. So we have a variety of types of opportunities for retail growth, and we actually do market that quite extensively. And whether it's general retail or restaurants, we strive really hard in terms of marketing. And sometimes we even have certain business subsidies to help businesses achieve the goals, common goals that we have. So I'm sure you'll hear more about our retail strategy as we start to come out of the COVID pandemic and really hit the ground running again to try to secure additional retail tenants, not only homegrown like this, but also bringing additional new exciting retailers from other areas. So Chloe, can you talk to us a little bit about Riverwalk Village? I know this is not a new project, but people might be interested in what in the heck is going on behind Lano Equipment.
Yes, so Riverwalk Village was a project that was approved in 2020 at the end of Riverland Avenue. So this is the far southeast corner of Ramsey, down by Kings Island and the Mississippi River. This is an 18 lot subdivision. They are slightly smaller lots down there, but they are on city utilities. And one really exciting thing about this project is that we received a Metropolitan Council grant to help clean up the site, because it was being used as an unapproved landfill. There was a lot of junk and garbage and debris buried on site. So getting that cleaned up was a huge goal of the city, and we are very proud to say that it is officially cleaned up and building is underway on those homes. Another exciting component of this is that a few of the homes out there are affordable. They will be homeowner owned and occupied homes that meet the Metropolitan Council's definition of affordable homes for first-time home buyers. So that is super exciting for us as well. We expect many of those homes to be built this year, as it was approved last year. If you drive down that cul-de-sac, you can see some of those homes already popping up down there. In the future, there may be a request coming forward related to a dock down on the Mississippi River, but more to come on that one. So stay tuned on this project. We're very excited to say that building is underway after working on this for quite some time, and excited to say that we did get the site fully cleaned up so that it's safe for people to live on the property and live near the property as well.
Yep, and you mentioned kind of the affordable component to this is still detached single family, and it's worth kind of reiterating what that really means. And oftentimes we find ourselves referring this to as attainable housing too. So the threshold is, finding that area median income in that first home. So we're talking about homes that are still $250,000, give or take, or more. So that's the attainable threshold. What we're trying to do is provide opportunities for a variety of housing type that aren't $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, which we have quite a few of those opportunities, but we wanted to provide some more attainable housing to have that life cycle. So wherever your walk of life in terms of your housing spectrum, we want to find opportunities for you here in Ramsey without leaving Ramsey. So again, and it was a major project, a major undertaking that took many, many years to get to. Discovery of unapproved landfills. It's not as bad as some of the surrounding areas, such as Kings Island cleanup, where actual vehicles were found buried, but still asphalt chunks, construction debris, things of that nature. It was a several month cleanup project. I would just kind of close with a thank you to the neighbors in that area. It was a major disruption to them during that cleanup process. We couldn't go straight out on Highway 10, so we're using Riverland Avenue and not being able to be right on the site as they're excavating. So they put up with several months of construction activity. So just want to give a special thanks to those neighborhoods that lived through that. And now we're able to move on as we work through the traditional development process. Another potentially exciting project in the pipeline that we are working on currently is Storyteller Cafe. Sean, tell us a little bit about that project.
Sure. Again, this is a project that's a commercial retail project that is located in the core. It's also on a city-owned site, and the property is currently under contract with the developer. So staff worked with this developer and then showed them multiple sites, and this is the site that they ultimately landed upon. The project right now is scheduled in their minds to be done in 2021, and it's likely a February or March Planning Commission submittal, so should see that at a public meeting very soon. The project is being proposed on Sunwood Drive, right between New Horizons and Sunwood Village. So there's a very small lot that's in that area, and this is a very tricky site, but we've actually managed to find a user here that really can use that site to its full extent. When it's all said and done, it's going to be exactly what core zoning is looking for. It's a mixed-use development with a cafe and retail on the first floor, and then apartments on the second floor. You might be able to see it in the graphic there, but what they're trying to do is set it up so that it also has rooftop dining for that restaurant upstairs. So it should be a welcome addition, and we're certainly excited about it. I do want to give a shout out to one of our newest EDA members, Mr. Mr. Heineman, Mr. Ryan Heineman, helped us in this process to at least set up an introductory meeting with this business, and staff has taken it from there, and now we're at this point. So shout out to Ryan and his good work on this.
All right. Thank you, Sean. One of our last few residential projects to highlight, previously known as Garden View Villas, I believe, now just simply Garden View, located a little bit north here of City Hall. Chloe, tell us a little bit about this project.
Yes, so this is another fully approved project, again, just north of City Hall in the core, off of Bunker Lake Boulevard and Center Street. This is a project that, like some of the similar earlier projects, had quite a bit of neighborhood input. So we're very excited at the outcome of this project. We were able to work with the developer, who is Landform, and the adjacent residential homeowners and renters to come up with a good compromise scenario. So it's 18 lots that will have driveways off of Bunker Lake Boulevard, and they are individual detached single family homes. So a traditional single family home, just on slightly smaller lots. This project also has quite a bit of wetland on site. So we're excited that we're able to add a little bit of additional protection to the wetland out there, and worked with the developer on that as well. So we expect that to be a spring start date in 2021. And again, that project is fully approved. So likely to see some dirt moving out there as soon as the ground thaws out.
Yeah, so Chloe, you mentioned wetlands on site, and in the context of providing additional wetland protection, is it safe to say that the wetland configuration had an impact on the layout? Maybe that's why it hadn't developed. Was it a challenging site? Tell us a little bit about kind of how the wetlands influenced the design.
Yes, definitely a very challenging site. Almost half of the site is wetland, which is protected by the DNR. So we had to get a little bit creative in order to make some of those lots work, to make sure that we were able to protect the wetland. We went through quite a few iterations of the design and different layouts with the neighbors and the developer, again, Landform, working on that project, who were willing to work with us and make sure that we have at least 16.5 feet off of the edge of every wetland that won't be developed. So we can keep that wetland nice and clean and protected for future generations to come. But definitely a challenging project, and we're happy to see that that's going to start building soon.
Yep, and there's also the potential to connect Center Street to the neighborhood to the north. Maybe not to the extent that we've spoken about before. It could be just a trail connection. It could just be a local road connection. So this project reserved the corridor. And also just recently, we were able to pick up at very minimal cost, essentially a donation to the city, a vacant parcel to the north that Mr. Sullivan had a role in kind of getting to the finish line. So we might see some trail connections occur in the next year or two, and that would provide a benefit to the neighborhood to the north and some walkability down to our downtown area known as the core. And so additional discussion to come on that. So the stars kind of align almost perfectly with this, with the acquisition of the parcel to the north coming without prompt to us as a donation from the previous property owner. So we were able to move that transaction rather quickly. I was going to try to figure out how to share sound and play a retail jingle for you on this next one. Now that you all see it on the screen, you all know exactly what jingle I'm talking about. The O'Reilly Auto Parts jingle, if you've heard on the radio, I hear it quite frequently. So yeah, we have an exciting opportunity for us in front of us for Sean to talk about a little bit here.
Thanks, Tim. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I just want to touch on this as well, is that, part of our strategy to bring retail and restaurants is, to kind of grow organically locally, and then to kind of reach out, either regionally or nationally. And we began, talks with O'Reilly back in the May of 2019, and started to sell them on the core and in populations and things along those lights. And again, you're dealing with kind of a corporate view and at that point. And then when you do garner that interest, then you kind of drill it down to whether or not it'll be a corporate store or whether it'll be a developer that's actually going to build it for that business to come in. So that brings us to where we're at right now. We worked with a company called Java Properties, and we're looking at a site again that's city-owned and is in the core. It's just west of Casey's on Sunwood Drive, so just across from the new, not necessarily new, but just across from the Alina Healthcare Center there. So a great location, kind of at the eastern entry point of the core. They as well are also going through their site plan submittal process, and based on their timing, it's possible that we might get that one on February, but it's likely a March Planning Commission meeting. So assuming we can get together on, aesthetics and everything associated with core zoning, I anticipate this project to be in the ground in the summer of 2021, which is pretty exciting. When it's all said and done, it'll be about 7,000 square feet. And again, it's, some projects, kind of have, check some boxes. This is a box that I think has needed to be checked in Ramsey for quite some time. There's a hole when it comes to, getting those place where you can get parts for your car and do those home repairs. You got to go to Anoka or you got to go to Elk River. This is now right in the center of Ramsey. It'll be great for all of our residents when this company eventually moves in.
Yep. So, and again, we should just reiterate that, these are all plans right now, and in the interest of transparency, to let our public know kind of what we're working on, the excitement that's there, we are sharing this at this point. As we've learned, a deal is never a deal till it's fully complete. Sometimes even starting a project might not come all the way to the fruition. So this one looks incredibly promising. We've got proper approvals in place and moving through our process. And again, it is not a completed deal, but something that we should be excited about the prospect of. And we're hopeful that everything kind of continues on. And that really rings true for all of especially the retail prospect developments in the core that we spoke about, Gigi Salon and Storyteller Cafe. They are still technically concept, but it's something that we're excited about. And we've been hearing a desire from the community to keep everyone in the loop a little bit more frequently. So we are doing that with the disclaimer that, again, project not fully done. Things could not transpire, but these all look very promising. And so keep an eye out, and we'll do our best to update the community as they progress through our project. So I just want to make sure I get that out there too.
Thank you, Tim. And I want to add to that as well. And I'm sorry I'm so excited about all these projects, but Tim is absolutely right. We do have a ways to go on all of these projects, but what we have is basically developers and business owners that are really committed to getting something done this year. And when you have that, you have very, very likely scenarios to get to that finish line when they really want to make this happen. So I am super excited at the process, or I guess at the prospects of all of these, and would love to see a lot of activity on Sunwood Drive this year.
Yep. So we provided a lot of information at a very high level for projects that have a lot more detail behind them. So we do try to do our best to create project web pages for all these projects. cityoframsey.com/development. We do our best to keep those freshened up. You can also call City Hall and ask for either of us. We are more than happy to talk you through that project. Most of our updates are most effective when we get a call from someone who just wants to know a little bit more, and they share that with their neighbors who share it with their neighbors. So do not hesitate to call. So we've had a couple of projects that I just want to note here today that are still out there. Probably got a little bit of press earlier this year or a year prior. So I just want to update the community on a couple of these projects that are retail in nature, and obviously the current pandemic is having a major impact on that. So Sean, can you tell us where we are at with the Cobblestone Hotel that was talked about over the last year?
Sure. This is a pretty exciting project for the city, and a lot of support for bringing a hotel and a full service, a steakhouse to the city of Ramsey. Unfortunately, in the hotel industry, the pandemic has wreaked havoc on it, and there are not new hotels being started during this time frame. And due to that, Cobblestone notified us that they wanted to put this project on pause. And that's kind of where we stand at this point. They have expressed interest that when we do pull out of this pandemic, that they would like to look at this site once again. But as it stands, the project isn't going to happen in this year. And it's good to bring up because as we talk about O'Reilly's and Storyteller and Gigi's, they were in a very similar situation as to where Cobblestone was. Cobblestone had, I believe, plat approval for this particular project. But when it came down to getting that project done at the end, the developer decided not to move forward. So again, we're hopeful that this will resurrect moving forward because we know that there's a need for this type of investment in the community. But again, it's a private project and the numbers need to make sense for the developer. Another project that I'll kind of talk about, and this is kind of a different scenario in which the city worked with a private developer to take down a piece of property just on the western side of the core. It's about little over 3 acres, but the developer put it under contract. And kind of like we are as a city going out trying to market and bring in businesses, we have a private developer that's doing that as well. So the developer is Rob Hardy. And he's out of Arizona and has been very successful in a number of other projects. Probably the closest one to here is up in Fargo, but good developer, good track record. And he's been working very, very hard during I would say since late 2018 to try and put a deal together. Of course, this is an area that's slated for retail and commercial growth. And as Tim alluded to earlier, it's been a terrible year for investment in those market sectors. So it's really put almost a year of hold on this particular project. We still do have an active purchase agreement with Mr. Hardy. And I know he has been meeting with people all over the nation trying to garner interest in this particular site in Ramsey. So excited at the prospects of this. This is probably, I would argue, one of our better sites as far as access because it is off of Armstrong Boulevard with that direct access to Highway 10. And yeah, super excited to see what Rob can do. And we as city staff are also assisting him as well. And if we find fits for that site, we will work with him in order to get something done there.
Perfect. And getting back to the hotel really quickly, that did get pretty far in the site plan approval process. So it's really set up well that when the economy returns, it's got a plan set that can be dusted off just short of building plans for the actual construction of the building. So we will continue to keep their interest in mind and push on them to bring those back as soon as possible. So that work will not have gone for nothing. Those plans are still good, still valid, and we're excited to bring that forward. So thank you to both of you for spending a little bit of time with us today to talk about some development activities. Perhaps this is something we'll do a little bit more regularly, something a little bit more fun and innovative other than the emails that we send out from time to time. We'll still supplement with that every once in a while for more frequent updates, but we're really excited to really live and embrace the Zoom world as it exists today. So it's here, we'll embrace it, and I want to thank each of you for your time here today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to visit our website at cityoframsey.com/development or call us at City Hall 763-427-1410. That's all we have here for today. So thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.